Candace was nothing but kind to me. I was a little bit terrified. I prayed about it and I listened to worship music in the car, and I honestly had a lot of peace about it after. And I wasn't completely sure, but it was I want to say around 10:30 or so the night before, and I genuinely could not sleep because it was all I could think about, what I knew and what was going on. And I had a guilty conscience about it, genuinely. And I decided to send in an email. She got back to me.
What if the most important clue in a tragedy didn't come from a detective, but from a dream? Candace Owens has just ignited a firestorm by revealing something deeply personal, a vivid dream where she claims her friend, the late Charlie Kirk, appeared to her with a cryptic and chilling message. He allegedly told her he was betrayed by multiple people in his own circle before his time was cut short. Skeptics are calling it an emotional fantasy, a way to process grief. But her supporters see it as a bombshell revelation, a sign that the official story of his tragic death is a lie. This single dream has sparked a massive debate, forcing fans to re-examine everyone in Charlie Kirk's inner circle. Who were his real friends, and who was hiding something? We're diving deep into the dream, the shocking name Candace claims she saw, and how this one spiritual experience.
It was so incredibly kind to me. And it's just so crazy to me because I always expect people that are these like empire of human beings to not really care about the little people. I've never met someone that is this huge that was so kind. I mean, it was ridiculous how kind and welcoming she was to me and how much she cared about making sure she had my back. I just want to say to Candace, thank you.
Is threatening to expose a truth that some people may want to keep buried forever. This goes deeper than politics. It's about loyalty, betrayal, and a message that may have come from beyond the grave. To understand the storm that Candace Owens has created, you first have to understand the world she's been living in. A world of digital warfare where every alliance is temporary and every friend could become an enemy. The latest chapter in this saga began with a woman named Maggie, an aspiring media personality who came forward with a wild story. She claimed she was approached to audition for a new show, but there was a dark twist. The show was allegedly designed to mock and attack Candace Owens. And the company producing it? The Daily Wire, owned by Candace's former boss and now bitter rival, Ben Shapiro. The feud between Candace and Ben had already been simmering for months, a messy public divorce that played out across social media. It's a digital soap opera, with both sides accusing the other of being obsessed, of watching their every move. Maggie claimed the company wanted to use Candace's face and image for this new project, leveraging the rights to her old show in a legally murky and morally questionable way.
The setting of this particular dream, however, had one dramatic difference. We were not there for the opening of the embassy. And this difference, by the way, I don't really understand yet. I'm just sharing it with you. Instead, we were there in this dream setting for Bibi Netanyahu's wife's funeral.
It's a classic media power play, a battle over contracts, ownership, and reputation. But here's where Maggie's story took a turn that got everyone's attention. She said no. She turned down the paycheck, choosing her principles over the money. In an industry where people will do almost anything for a platform, her decision was a rare act of integrity. Instead of playing their game, she decided to build her own, launching her own podcast and taking control of her own voice. It was a smart move, a way to stay true to herself while the giants kept throwing digital punches. Her decision to come forward earned her a surprising message from Candace Owens herself. Maggie expressed shock that Candace even reached out, but the support was overwhelming. She described Candace as so incredibly kind and welcoming, someone who genuinely cared about having her back. Maggie, with her warm energy and bright smile, seemed like the perfect, credible whistleblower, and Candace's embrace of her seemed to confirm everything. It painted Candace as a protector of the little people, a champion for those who stand up to powerful media empires. But with Candace Owens, there are always two sides to the story. She has a well-known pattern. When you are on her side, she is a fierce and loyal ally. But the moment you question her, the moment you step out of line, that warmth can turn to ice in an instant. To be fair, She has been a target for years, criticized and attacked from every conceivable angle. That kind of pressure builds walls. It makes you guarded. You can respect that kind of resilience, the instinct to protect yourself at all costs. The problem is when that defense mechanism turns into an inability to accept any form of questioning. Not every challenge is an attack, but this constant state of high alert, this need to find the truth no matter the cost, has led her to her biggest and most controversial obsession yet: figuring out what really happened to her friend, Charlie Kirk. His shocking death left millions searching for answers. The official story is that it was the act of a disturbed individual, a suspect named Jack Robinson, who is still awaiting trial. But for many, that explanation feels too simple, too convenient. And Candace Owens has become the loudest voice for that doubt. She started by sharing some of Charlie Kirk's old social media posts, reminding the world of where he stood just before he died. He had been highly critical of U.S. foreign policy, calling out what he described as war hawk behavior from politicians who seemed eager for global conflict and endless military spending. He questioned why America was so focused on pushing for democracy overseas, while its own citizens were struggling with crippling healthcare costs and a broken system at home. He famously argued that before America tries to fix other nations, it should fix its own problems first. That common-sense message resonated deeply with people. So now, looking back, they're asking the same question Candace is. Was it just a random, tragic coincidence that a man so vocal about challenging the war machine ended up gone in such a public and violent way? Asking questions isn't wrong. It's what you do when a story just doesn't add up. But Candace was about to take it a step further, moving from questions to something far more surreal, something that came to her in the dead of night. She was about to tell the world about her dream. As the public debate over Charlie Kirk's death raged on, a bizarre, unrelated incident showed just how much his name was echoing in the national consciousness. On live television, sports commentator Stephen A. Smith, intending to mention football player Christian Kirk, had a slip of the tongue and said Charlie Kirk instead. It was a simple mix-up, a fleeting error, but in the supercharged atmosphere online, people ran wild with it. It felt like another sign, another strange ripple from a story that refused to fade. But that small public gaffe was nothing compared to the intensely personal revelation Candace Owens was about to share. She took to her platform to describe something that happened not in the public square, but in the private, mysterious world of her own mind. She told her audience about a dream. It began, as dreams often do, in a setting that was both familiar and strangely wrong. Candace said she found herself at a funeral, but the funeral wasn't for Charlie. In the dream, she was there for the funeral of Benjamin Netanyahu's wife. Candace herself admitted this detail made no sense. She'd never met his wife, never spoken about her. It was a dramatic, confusing element that she couldn't explain, a surreal backdrop for the encounter that was about to take place. As she sat in this strange dream state, where everything bizarre feels completely normal, Charlie Kirk suddenly appeared to her. According to Candace, he looked at her and said, "I don't have much time." The dream took on an urgent, almost spiritual tone. He then followed it up with a cryptic instruction, telling her that she needed to see what happened on his left. And then came the bombshell, the words that would ignite a firestorm of speculation. He looked at her and explicitly said, "They betrayed me, multiple people." The accusation hung in the air of the dream. Betrayal. It was the confirmation of every dark suspicion her followers had harbored. But the dream wasn't finished with her. It became a frustrating, agonizing loop. In the dream, Candace would ask the most important question. "I know, but who?" Every time she tried to speak the word who, she would either start speaking out loud in her sleep, waking herself up from the dream, or Charlie's voice would become distorted, sounding as if he were underwater. She was on the verge of the answer, but she could never quite get to it. It was a deeply frustrating experience, being so close to the truth only to have it dissolve into incoherence. For weeks, she claimed, the same dream repeated, always ending at the same frustrating point, with the names of the betrayers just out of reach. Then, one night, everything changed. In the third week after Charlie's death, the dream finally broke its pattern. As she once again tried to hear the names, one face came through. It materialized, as she described it, as clear as day, from around the corner of the restaurant setting in her dream. The face, she said, was Andrew Kolvet, a key figure at Turning Point USA. Candace was stunned. She explained to her audience that immediately after Charlie's death, her mind wasn't on an internal conspiracy at TPUSA. She had known Andrew Kolvet for years and had spoken with him extensively in the aftermath, viewing him and others as the good guys who loved Charlie Kirk. She felt, in her own words, really weird about seeing his face. It didn't align with her conscious thoughts or feelings. Yet, the dream was so vivid, so powerful and compelling, that she couldn't dismiss it as random. It felt like a message she was meant to receive. This is the moment the story shifted from public speculation to something that felt deeply personal and almost paranormal. You can't take a dream to court. You can't use it as evidence in an investigation. And Candace's critics immediately pounced. They accused her of turning a tragedy into content, of using emotional, unverifiable experiences to stir up her base and keep herself at the center of the story. They argued it was irresponsible, even cruel, to name names based on something as flimsy as a dream. But her supporters saw it differently. They called it a spiritual connection, a sign from beyond. They argued that the subconscious mind picks up on truths the conscious mind isn't ready to accept, and that her dream was her intuition finally breaking through. For them, it wasn't just a dream. It was a revelation. Regardless of what you believe, the raw honesty of her telling is what kept people hooked. She wasn't presenting herself as a polished network reporter. She's a podcaster, a modern media personality who shares her thoughts, her feelings, and yes, even her dreams, and leaves it up to the audience to decide what it all means. By being so open and vulnerable about the experience, she tapped into something universal, that lingering hope that the people we lose might still find a way to speak to us, to give us the answers we so desperately crave. She knew her dream wasn't proof, but she also felt it was a truth she had to share. So she made a decision. She decided to confront the man from her dream. She picked up her phone and sent a text message directly to Andrew Kolvet, telling him exactly what she had seen. The fuse had been lit. The spiritual had just become confrontational, and the fallout was only beginning. The fallout from Candace's dream was immediate and explosive. Having seen Andrew Kolvet's face so clearly, she felt she had no choice but to act. She sent him a text message, telling him exactly what she had seen. It was a bizarre, almost unbelievable confrontation, a direct challenge based not on evidence, but on a vision. Candace herself admitted that in the immediate aftermath of Charlie's death, she never would have suspected his own team. She saw them as the good guys, but the dream was so compelling, it forced her to question everything she thought she knew. Later, she would claim her dream was prophetic, declaring that Kolvet was eventually caught red-handed, orchestrating attacks against her. What started as a weird dream had morphed, in her narrative, into a confirmed betrayal. This is the moment the story went supernova. Candace's critics pointed to her shifting narrative as proof that she was reckless, weaving a conspiracy out of grief and imagination. But her millions of followers saw it as validation. For them, her dream wasn't speculation. It was the key that unlocked the entire mystery. And this is where you have to understand the new rules of media. The line between reporting and speculation has been completely erased. In today's digital world, emotion spreads faster than evidence. Social media algorithms don't reward verified truth. They reward engagement. Fear, outrage, sadness, curiosity. That's the real currency. And Candace Owens, whether intentionally or not, is a master of this new economy. She understands that when followers feel sincerity, they don't wait for proof. They simply believe. And just as this firestorm was growing, other political dramas began to feed the flames, creating a perfect storm of chaos and suspicion. The Clintons released a nearly 5-page statement online, and their decision to defy a subpoena for more information only poured gasoline on the long-standing fires of public distrust. Defenders called it a standard legal move to avoid a political circus. But for a public already primed to believe that the powerful are hiding something, it looked like an admission of guilt. This refusal to be transparent became another piece of the puzzle for people trying to connect the dots, another reason to believe that official stories can't be trusted. At the same time, America's standing on the world stage seemed to be fracturing. France's President Macron publicly rejected a U.S. proposal, and in a symbolic move, Greenland officially chose an alliance with Denmark over the United States. It sent shockwaves through international politics, painting a picture of a nation drowning in debt and internal chaos, a nation whose global leadership was crumbling. All of this noise, the political scandals, the shifting alliances, created an atmosphere where nothing felt stable and no authority felt credible. And all of it circled back to the one story the internet refused to let go of: the death of Charlie Kirk. The official investigation was moving at a crawl. The suspect was awaiting trial, and details were scarce. But in a world that demands instant information, every moment of silence from authorities feels like a cover-up. Every delay feels intentional. This vacuum of information is what drives people to speculation, because when official voices go quiet, conspiracy takes the mic. Candace has tapped into that energy perfectly. She fills the silence with dreams, theories, and raw emotional appeals. She might not have hard evidence, but she has something just as powerful: conviction. And in this media landscape, conviction sells. But it's critical to see that this story is about more than just one case. It has become a symbol for the deep sense of betrayal that millions of people feel toward their institutions. They look at this story and see a reflection of their own fears: that power protects itself, that truth gets buried, and that ordinary people are always left in the dark. That's why even the smallest update goes viral. It's no longer just about Charlie Kirk. It's about the fight to feel informed in a world that feels designed to mislead you. Of course, it's easy to forget that behind the hashtags, the podcasts, and the political drama, a real person is gone. Grief has been turned into content, and tragedy has been turned into a never-ending online mystery series. Human beings have been reduced to characters. Candace insists her motives are pure, that she is simply trying to find peace and truth for her friend. But whether she is a truth seeker or a master of media, she is shaping this narrative more than anyone. Each emotional confession, each new revelation, keeps her followers locked in. Even when they question her, they can't look away. And that's the ultimate lesson here. Attention is power, and whoever holds the spotlight controls the story. So, what do you think? Was Candace's dream a genuine spiritual message? Or was it her subconscious mind piecing together a puzzle she couldn't see when she was awake? This story is far from over, and the questions are only getting bigger. We want to know what you believe is really going on here, so drop your theories and thoughts in the comments section below. If you think these questions deserve answers, the most important thing you can do right now is share this video. Help us push this conversation forward. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into the stories that everyone is talking about, but no one is explaining. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss our next update. The truth may be complicated, but it's always worth pursuing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.